how quickly we were able to slip into a conversation and just start talking.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It was definitely a free flowing conversation, which I'm always into.
You know, because it's not always that way. It could go the other way. It could be like there's nothing to say, kind of goes
We've
dry.
all been privy to those types of conversations, and they're awkward, you know. We've all been part of them. Maybe I've been the cause of them once or twice, but yeah, for
I'm
the
trying to
most
think
part,
of a perfect scene in a movie that represents this. Have you seen a film called Human Traffic?
absolutely. I love that movie.
And there's a scene in the film. I can't remember all the characters' names. Um, Person with the brown hair, the guy. He's in the bar. He bumps into someone that he knows, but he
Yeah.
doesn't want to have a conversation with him. And the other guy's thinking the exact same thing. And they're both talking to each other, but there's subtitles that are happening underneath at the bottom of the screen with what they're really trying to say to each other.
What they're actually thinking. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, which I don't really want. I'm terribly sorry I saw you. You know, like I'm sorry I glanced over and saw you and made the eye contact. I didn't mean to. You know,
You know what though? These days I would kill for a conversation like that in a bar. Hey, I'll run into
wow,
someone I don't
right?
want to.
Right. Right. I know. I go to take out the garbage, and I'm like, is there gonna be someone I can be like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because it's rare. Hey,
Yeah, I
listen,
made friends with my neighbors this year, so that was a first.
you made friends with your neighbor. You didn't have that going on for you,
I mean, you do the wave in the elevator if you get there, but now I have full on conversations because these are the people I see.
right? Well, that's just it, right? Everything now
Yeah,
is 6 feet of separation instead
absolutely.
of 6 degrees.
Well, and that's why we're not doing a B2B tonight, as it
Right.
were.
You know what? That good timing right now. Bang. That is Jules Bangsworth.
That's
This
me.
is utility room. And
That's chilling.
Jules, this is the second time we've had Jules on utility room. Um, First time we had Jules was absolutely smashing. We hung out for a sec, like we were just talking about. We talked a bit about your journey from East Coast Canada um,
Mhm.
here into Ontario, stationing yourself in Toronto, and DJing here. We talked about how you were a broken beat DJ, drum and bass, fast BPMs, and you came out here and the 4/4 bug bit you.
Yeah, as it does.
And then after that, you laid it down in the utility room. You came in here and you absolutely rocked it, and I was loving it. I thought
Oh,
it was
thank you.
yeah, it was
I
great.
mean, I think that room gives you a certain amount of energy. So I was playing off of my surroundings at that point.
Was it the scent of laundry, the fresh laundry scent that inspired? Was it being
Favorite
surrounded
smell in
by
the world, my
the
friend.
hot water
Favorite smell in the
tank?
world. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely the laundry smell and the metal all around.
Right, right. Lots of piping, tubing,
Yeah.
aluminum, steel, wood. Yeah, it's a good.
It's a good vibe.
It's
I'll take
exactly
it.
it's exactly what you want to rave in. I mean, we're
Cheers to
legitimately
that.
underground. That's the deal. We had the intention of playing music tonight together.
Yeah, together. Yeah.
Yeah, uh, and we can't do that.
Not yet.
No,
Not. We got to do it when it's safe. So we'll hold off for a little bit longer.
we're gonna be calling this a
But
we're calling this a rain chat.
we do have some cool things planned for tonight. We're going to switch it up a little bit.
Okay.
So usually you would be running the interview, but tonight I'm going to run the interview and ask you some questions.
Okay. I'm not nervous.
No? How are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling very casual about it.
I mean, it's going to be a casual
Let's
conversation,
make
but I'm
casual
excited to
conversation.
pick your brain, and
Okay.
I'm happy you're open to it because I think you've got a lot of good stories that maybe a lot of us haven't heard before.
Yeah. Most of which I'm unable to recall, which is the benefit of having all the guests on the show who come at me and go, "Do you remember this time?" And I go, "No, but come on now.
No, let's talk about
Yeah,
it.
let's
Yeah,
talk
no,
about it." I mean, and then
well,
all
I
of a
mean,
sudden,
I'm sure
okay,
there's pieces you remember.
I have, I have, I'll tell you something. I'll jump in right now.
Yeah, let's
I've
go.
talked about it a little bit on social media, but back in 2014, I had this massive flood, gray water, and it was like knee high. I had like when I came home, I like had stuff like floating by me, and it was
Shit.
absolutely devastating. Um, and I mean, the timing of it was terrible. The loss of all the stuff was really crazy.
Yeah.
I kept thinking about that quote from Fight Club that the more things that you own, they end up owning you. And a huge chunk of me was lost at that moment where I was like, I had a book that I was collecting of flyers from like the very first show, like the very first
Yeah.
time someone had put me like on a piece of paper, um, and it was kept chronological, gone.
Shit.
Uh, so much vinyl gone. I'm
Oh
not
my
anymore,
God.
but I was at one point like this nuts comic book junkie. I lost boxes of comics. It was really crazy. It was like, okay, I also a lot of starting over, a lot of like I didn't
Yeah.
yeah, like it was just a weird thing to just happen, you know. Um, anyways, I'm bringing it up.
That would be wild.
You
I
have to,
can't even imagine.
yeah. I just because sure you're gonna forget some stuff along the way, and that's one of the reasons why one of the awesome parts of social media, assuming that whatever app we're using ends up sticking around for a long time. But because we've put all these photos and videos up on all these different apps, right? We've got all these apps that are running. Um, these pics that we've got, these memories, and they're tagged and dated. So years from
Yeah.
now, and then and Facebook does this where all of a sudden it's like 10 years ago you were here with these people and you're like, "Oh shit." And you end up posting it on your wall. And you're like, "Hey, do
True.
you guys remember this?" Ah, and everyone's like,
Yes.
"Yeah," and it all comes back. And you know, we're living at that moment. I had a lot of moments that I'd captured, and I hope I can retain them here because I had them there, and now I don't.
Oh man, that's like a forced purge, which I wouldn't feel comfortable with, like I'm okay with choosing to let go of things, but keepsakes like that, that's gotta be a little bit hurtful.
Right? Yeah. I feel like I'm just touching on it right now, but I mean, like the whole house was just smoked. It was just, it was like had to move in like less than 24 hours. Be like what you can salvage, what are you keeping, what are you not? Like that's in gray water. Okay, I'm not keeping that. It's gross. Like
Oh man.
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Anyways.
that's but here you are with all your stuff in a utility room once again,
That's
just
yeah.
powering through, hoping for no more floods.
That's right. That's right. Well, this is 6 years ago, so
Well, I mean, yeah, that's gonna be rough. I've lost some records along the way, some gear's been misplaced, but you know, not all of it at once. So my heart goes out to you for that one. That's brutal.
yeah.
But that said, so utility room, I gotta ask you because this is a big question for me, because you're putting out a lot of content. You're doing 2 shows a week for this podcast. How do you keep motivated to do it? How do you keep motivated to keep putting out content that much?
Okay. So it's definitely switched.
Yeah.
Before I was just streaming tracks, and I thought it was really cool because I was able to connect with a lot of people that weren't able to see me and hear me. For various reasons. Either you end up going somewhere and someone can't make it out. They got to wake up early. That they're still working. Whatever the reason is. Um, and it was just it was. I thought to myself, this is really cool. We're connecting this way
Yeah.
because it's a little different than the DJ mix. The DJ mix is this is you creating something. All music. When we've got our headphones in, um, we're creating something that is unique. It is ours. It is describable, but barely because it's absolutely 4K more. It's a billion K in your brain. But
Hmm.
you know, but it's 15, 20 words when we're talking to somebody. I mean, I'm generalizing, but
Right.
I think that being able to see it and being able to hold it in your hand and station it somewhere and work out to it, go for a jog with it, you know, plant it in your car. So hopefully, like, listen, don't watch it and drive. Don't watch it and drive. I'm not encouraging that. Um,
Just listen and drive.
but being with everyone again is cool because we can't. So
Yeah.
there's got to be something. It can't be this sucks and that's the answer.
Yeah. Agreed. And I mean, like Twitch obviously has been a big thing, and the amount of DJs doing really amazing things on streams, this show included, it's if I wouldn't have believed it a year ago, to be honest. So it's really cool to see the everybody just kind of adapt. But it's everybody's process is different, so it's interesting to hear yours as well.
The the thing is that when I first started doing it with the why are you laughing at me? So when I first started,
Laughing with you, friend.
cool. When we first started doing it, so this is born from Cat
Yeah,
because I had somewhere to go play at the start of stuff last March, whatever, 8th, 10th, 13th, I can't remember what the date is. Last March, on the news, it was don't go out. Um, and I went to go, and Kat looked at me. She's like, "You can't do it." Called them and said, "You can't do it." So I called them and said, "I can't do it."
hmm,
And then, I don't know, 9 o'clock, 9:30, something at night. She said, "No, I want to rave." I'm like, I can't call them back. I can't call them back now and say let's go. They have for sure called somebody else, and that's it. And she's like, okay, set up and let's rave. I'm like, really? She's
yes,
like, yeah, let's go. I'm like, all right, I'll rave with you. Let's go.
all right,
So but I don't have like a DJ setup at home. My DJ setup for years now has been my laptop and some MIDI
hmm,
controllers. So I had to like put stuff together real quick so that we can have an area in the house that we could do this. And
yeah,
right. And so I didn't have anything. And then she's like, listen, let's stream this. And I was like, how? And she's like, just go Instagram live. And I went, okay. So set up the camera and used a closed drying rack in the laundry room and put a piece of plywood over top of it. And I had a couple of tea lights that I set up behind me and I played.
nice,
And then
incredible.
and then I did it again. And then I did it again. And the first, like, I don't know, the first like 5 or 6 times that I had done it, there was maybe only a dozen people that were tuning in. And I was like, okay, like this is still cool. Like I'm still hanging out. Like it's like I'm in like a basement with,
Yeah,
you know, 12 people.
With 12 people.
Yeah, and
Hell yeah.
we're having it together. Like, I'm okay. This is cool. And then it started going, and then I ended up leaving and taking the stuff with me because I was like, fuck it, this is portable. Like, why am I just staying here? I'm like, I know everything's locked down, so I'm not going to try and go to a place where there's other people, and I'm not going to tell
Right.
people, I'm not going to tell them where I'm at. So I'm totally like alone, unless of course some stranger comes, walking nearby, and then if that happens, then I can't do anything about that, and hopefully they're not gonna try and mess with what I'm doing. So I started leaving, and I found this tunnel, and I went into this tunnel, and I set up in it, and I had it framed really. It looked really cool, and it was like kind of orange lights. And this episode seemingly was favorited by a lot of people because it seems like now a lot more people were starting to watch. And so then I just kept playing. And in my brain I thought to myself, after the first couple of months, I was like, this is a bit like being on tour, except I'm not doing any of the flights or the hotels. And
Yeah.
I don't actually have everybody physically in front of me, but the type of energy that I was getting together to find it, because I dislike playing the same set. I've never enjoyed that. So, well, there might be two sets. You can be like, oh look, you have these 5 tracks in set A and these 5 tracks in set B, and that would be true. But they are definitely not in the same order, and they're definitely not mixed the same, and so it's not the same thing. So I was constantly doing new sets. Every show was fresh.
And honestly, it's kind of taken off. It's crazy to see how far it's come. Because I remember we spoke, when you were what, like 8 shows in, I think, somewhere around there, a couple months in, and yeah, it picked up really quick. So I
I,
think it's great. I love tuning in.
I your episode was really great, and I've actually only had 2 DJs in the utility room. Another great episode, Tiki Tai. You guys are the
My
only.
girl.
Yeah, you guys are the only 2 that have been in the room with me, and it's ironic because what I was going to do, because the shutdown, it kept getting harder and harder and harder, and in
Hmm.
my brain I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna get everybody in the room. I'm just gonna do that. I think to myself, this is the idea. I think I can pull this off. People will find the irony and humor of it, but then also, like, I mean, like, come on, when have you and I been in the same room, just the 2 of us, just raving together? Like, but that happened.
Well, that's true. It
That
was.
happened in here, man. That happened.
Yeah, you're right. And you know what? That's the thing. I keep there's been a lot of cool live streams and stuff and shows that I've experienced over the last year. And I have to keep holding on to that because as much as I do miss being in front of a crowd, I mean, I guess the funny thing is this time last year, this would have been our last weekend that we would none of us knew it yet, but this was the last weekend of anything going on because by the time the 13th came around, all the shows were canceled, right? So it's an interesting thought to have that this time last year none of us knew this was going to happen, and here we are. But thank God for live streams because I don't know how I would have gotten through it if people weren't playing music in some form, to take in.
You're frozen. I don't know why you're frozen, but you're frozen. Are you?
Oh
I don't
no.
know if you're watching the stream at the same time on Facebook or which app you're using, Twitch or YouTube, but
No, I don't have it open as well, but am I
this
still
is,
frozen?
yeah. I mean, what the good news is
Is it
about
a
this?
weird face? Is it a
No,
weird face?
no, no. You look totally really super happy. You've got a big smile going on. You look
Oh
great. Yeah,
man.
I'm wondering, should I
Ugh.
keep it? Should
how
I hang
how
up
do we
and
do
try and
this?
get back to you right now? I don't
Should
know
we
what
should
to
we
do.
get back in? I don't know.
I don't know what to
I can
do.
see it fine on my end. We both look great, but
Really? Are you still moving around on your end? Because it
yeah,
looks.
I can see myself fine on my end. So
I want to know if
that's
can someone send like a quick DM to me real quick. Is Jules?
am I
Is Jules?
frozen?
Yeah, is Jules
Yeah, I'm
frozen?
frozen. It's been confirmed.
It's been
Okay.
okay. Hold on. Hold on, let me. Don't, Jules, don't go anywhere. Hold on for a second. Let
I'm
me
not
try.
going to touch anything.
Yeah, all
It's
right.
fine.
Well, you might actually have to. You might actually have to handle the Skype real quick for a sec. I'm going to hang up. I'm so sad
Okay.
to lose this super happy face, but I'm going to do it. Hold on.
Am I moving? Can you see me?
You're moving, and I'm like getting you moving, like I'm like making you happen on the camera. You're set. We're back.
Okay,
We're
excellent.
in
Wow.
business.
I was as soon as you said that, I'm like, oh, I can't imagine what horrific face has frozen on that screen.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I'll tell you right now. A bit of a spoiler alert is that I have Matt C coming up on an episode,
Oh,
and I've pre-recorded it. And for the first 3 minutes, everything's great, and then it just froze. But so the episode's super giant. It's a really great episode.
yeah.
And I couldn't stop him from talking, so I couldn't do what we just did right now. I feel like I didn't even zoom the window right because now like you're like kind of like in like you're kind of like this. Yeah.
Where do you want me up here? What do you need me to do here? How do you want me to frame? You want me to push my camera down?
I'm trying my best. I need an intern. Okay. DM me. I'm not. This.
I
I'm absolutely sincere. And someone legit though, like not like oh whimsical, like okay.
should we put a call for applications out right
Yeah,
now on Twitch? Just send them through the chat.
this is it. This is it. It's about as real as it can get. I'm a one man army trying to make it all happen, and it's sometimes a challenge. I probably could resize it. I know how. It's not like it's a weird thing. I'm like, oh no, how do I do this? Maybe I should just make you totally big. Everyone's watching. Like, now, like you overpowering me. You're also overpowering the
No,
world
no,
now.
don't do that.
That's
Nobody needs this that big of a mug on their screen here.
everyone wants to see what you're talking about. There you are. Okay, we're good.
Thank you for stroking my ego a little bit. Needed that.
Where were we?
Where were we? Okay. Honestly, I think we were talking about live streams
I
and then I
couldn't plan that
froze. I was
even, but
talking
that's
about
great.
the beauty of live streams and then I froze in my tracks. So, yeah. All right. So let's switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
I wanna ask you a couple questions about um, you know, just how you came up in Toronto because I don't think a lot of people know that unless they were kind of around you at the time. Um, and you got your start here, right, in Toronto?
Yeah.
And it was like what, 96?
96 is when I started going out.
Yeah.
And then I started a fanzine with my best friend.
Really?
Yeah, it was called Subterrane.
Wicked.
And
Tell me all about it.
we were interviewing DJs.
Yeah.
We were reviewing parties. We were getting promoters and also a few DJs who were promoting their mixtapes to buy advertisements in this fanzine so that we could have the money to print it. And
Wow.
we would go to Kinko's and be up all night long printing these things out, folding them ourselves, stapling them together. And then that morning, we would go to all the shops that were along Queen Street West
Mhm.
and put the fanzines right next to Tribe because Tribe was the biggest magazine
Right.
that was happening in the city, and for good reason. It was just Tribe at one point in Toronto I felt was the thing. It was our news.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we didn't have the print run that Tribe had, but people
No.
people grabbed them. I think we did 5 of these issues, 5 or 6. I can't remember exactly what that was. And in and around the time that the 6th issue that we were finishing it, I started getting records, and I would go to the shop, um, and I didn't understand anything, so there was
Mhm.
no internet. I didn't have another DJ really to show me the ropes, and I don't know if I was introverted. I just didn't know anybody, but I also wasn't afraid. So I just got into the store and I'd be like, okay, I don't know what this is, and I was literally shopping by sticker or cover art.
Really?
Yeah, so there was obviously a few names of people that I was familiar with, but I had no idea. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was going on,
Yeah.
you know. But I started building my collection and realized that I needed turntables, and I only wanted 1200s because I knew that if I really if I loved it as much as I thought that I was going to, that
Mhm.
I would have spent money on something and then wanted to get something else, and that was going to be strange because I didn't have tons of money to pull this off.
True.
So I worked at a pool store, inhaled a ton of chlorine, and saved up my money and bought 1200s and a mixer, and
Nice.
and then I started making mixtapes. Now I'm gonna jump out real quick for a sec, and I'm gonna say
Mhm.
this. Um, Back when I was 13, my aunt gave me a dual cassette deck. And what I used to do is I used to make my own mixtapes, and the pause button was, I guess, my crossfader. I'd high speed dub to get through the track real quick because I wanted to chop these mixes as fast as I could, and then I'd use the pause button to try and bridge the tracks exactly. Now later on in '96, I end up going out, and this is probably maybe the best story I can tell. Obviously, like anything else, the very first time something happens, there's a unique excitement and energy that's associated with it, and we're like, you remember it.
Absolutely.
You remember it more for all these different reasons, especially if it's really great. So I went out, and I it was the club was called Sanctuary, I believe, and it was a trance night, and
Okay.
it was over at 2 o'clock in the morning, and everybody spilled out onto the sidewalk, and um, word of mouth started carrying on about this party that was happening. Now I was absolutely wasted, and I didn't know what was going on. There was a few people that I knew, and then there was a bunch of people that I didn't know, and I was like, here I go. So I'm off in the wander, and I had no idea about the downtown court. I certainly didn't know about Cardinal Points,
Right.
but now, after all this time has passed, I ended up at the corner of Richmond and Spadina, and there's like a Mama's Pizza there and all kinds of stuff that's happening at that intersection. But at that time, back in '96, there was none of that, and maybe the Mama's was there. I can't remember, but there was. We went into this building, and I walked down this crazy long corridor, and it opened up into this super lavish room with these chairs that were hanging from this, like, I don't know what they're called, like they're like some type of chair. It's like a terrible wood that's woven together. What is this called?
Oh, wicker? Is that what you mean?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry. So, but they
Shout out
had they
wicker
had
chairs
they had
everywhere.
yeah, but they were like suspended like from the ceiling from like these cables or something, and it was like this very
Wow.
exotic house music that was being played, and there was this bar that was in the corner of the room. The whole room was red, bright red paint everywhere. And I just remember thinking to myself that I have left Earth. I had never seen anything like it, but just the journey getting there. So I had no idea where I was. Yes, I'm wasted, but still coherent enough. Like wasted where I was like big smile on my face and everything is
For
shiny and
sure.
awesome sauce. But but still be like, be like, whoa, I could get my shit together real quick if I needed to. But just getting there, there was a guy that was at the door that had to look through a window to see who we were, and like kind of look through the window to inspect us, be like, all right, I'll let you out, man. You know, and I'm walking by him and like I'm like, yeah, I'm with them. And down this super long hallway and then this hidden room, it opens up and it was just like, the fuck is this? You know, I I've been living in Toronto for almost 5 years at that point. I not like I was like, wow, I've experienced everything, but I just never seen anything like this. Uh, it's the type of thing that like it was very movie esque,
Yeah. And like life
fantasy
changing in a
adventure.
sense, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to PG this story. I was about to say stuff, and I was like, yeah, I can't talk about that right now. But just this is enough. It was enough for me to be like, I want more of these adventures. I want to be surprised. And
Yeah.
the very early parties that were happening were like this because the locations were definitely alternative more often than not because even if the promoters wanted to get something legitimate, they could not. Um, these adventures were really incredible, and it's why we started doing the magazine,
Yeah.
the fanzine, and obviously the music was such a huge component to the adventure. I always associated some of the parties as soundtracks to these venues that I was going to.
Yeah.
So it and I really felt like I was part of it. So you asked me originally with a question on how and why I get inspired. I
No, I think you're like it's great. It's funny that you say that it all started with like sense of adventure because one thing that I've heard about you as a DJ is that you consider yourself an adventurer DJ. So I think many people I've talked to actually would consider you this. So I think it's interesting that it all started with that sense of adventure, and I think it still carries through for you now. Does it not?
yeah, I I'm still super excited to play, and
Yeah.
I'm still super excited to put together stuff. When I get to sit down with people that are friends, people that I admire, and I'm able to put together stuff with them, I'm like, this is still really exciting, and yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
you've done a lot of touring, so I'm sure you have some stories about some fun adventures. I don't know if you want to regale us with any of them. Maybe your favorite.
Which one? My favorite. My favorite. Yeah.
Or one that sticks out. I don't know. I'm sure you've got a lot. Some of them are probably not safe for the air, but
I'll give you something awesome. I played a party out in Phoenix, Arizona, and it was it was incredible. And there was a promoter that was doing a party the very next night, and he was at the party that I played at, and he saw me play, and he went over to the promoter that booked me. He went, "Can we, can we, can we have that for tomorrow night?" And they set it up. I stayed. I had no idea what it was. It was just, hey man, this guy's a really dope promoter, super prominent. He's got Woody McBride playing at his party live, and so I was like, whoa. I'm
cool.
like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, I would see that, yeah. And he's like, would you play? And I was like, yes. And he was like, okay. He's like, we're gonna make this happen. So I was like, okay. So that was it. And
Mhm.
then back to the rave. Like,
Yeah. Let's
it's not,
go.
yeah, yeah, not just not even thinking about anything else. Um, Next day, wake up, everything, jolly. Um, Getting closer to the evening, we get into a car, and I think it was a Toyota Camry. I'm remembering this specifically because it wasn't a big car, but it wasn't a small car. But there was five guys in the car, and
Yeah.
my vinyl was in the back, and I just remember thinking to myself, I'm like kind of cramped in.
Hmm.
And so, and then we get on the highway and everyone's talking and smoking and chilling and having fun and shooting the shit. And then, after, most long drives do, after, about an hour, the conversation starts to die down.
Yeah.
And of course, it's getting dark outside. And I'm kind of, I'm looking around. I'm like, we've been on this highway for a minute. And just as soon as I thought that, we turn off the highway and literally, like, we're now like driving through the desert. So
All
like
right.
and the car's like rattling and stuff, and I'm in the backseat. I'm in fucking Toronto. What do I know?
What do I know? This is what the drive in the desert's supposed to feel like. How do you know? I don't know.
So we're driving along the desert, but I'm not saying anything because I'm trying to be like, I've got this together. But after I don't know, like a period of time, excuse me, I'm I ask, I'm like, hey, how much further is it? And the driver's driving and he leans over his shoulder and he's like, listen, man, he's like, if you see any lights or if you actually hear something before anyone else, he's like, just point it out, okay? And we'll go towards that direction. So I kind of sit back and now this fear washes over me because I'm like, and I'm not, it's like, it's getting dark. So the only lights that are happening in the desert are the headlights of this car. And I,
Yeah.
so
I'm feeling that just listening to the story. So yeah.
right, and then, huzzah, like someone's like, ahoy laser, and we look out, it's like, it is, and so we point the car towards that direction and we find the party. So there's like 4,000 human beings out in the middle of this like area of the desert, and there's like two different stages that are set up, and like they've got crazy lasers that are going on. And I remember thinking to myself as I got, we walked out of the car, and as we walked towards, I guess, what would be considered the dance floor,
Right.
it was really, so you got to like, like, I'm already like, I don't know where I am, and I realize I'm in the middle of nowhere right now, and and I'm like walking towards this dance floor area, and because there was so many people that were going for it and really dancing, that there
Hmm.
was this dust cloud that covered over everything, like almost up to their waists.
Wow.
So I just saw all these half bodies that were just kind of moving around, and I remember going like, like, because I was,
Are these people even real? What's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
going
Is this
on?
even real? Like, like
Amazing.
what's happening? This is like, I don't know, like year or two of people, sending me plane tickets, like literally paper. That's how what used to happen. You used to, like get a FedEx envelope,
Yeah.
and it'd be like a paper plane ticket. So, it was very strange. And also, everybody was dancing with a balloon in their hand. And I couldn't understand why everybody had a balloon in their hand. And so I asked, and then I got the answer of why everybody was dancing with a balloon in their hand. And yeah, that was, I stepped up, I played. It was really crazy. I remember my records got absolutely dusty. Everything was skipping, so
Yeah.
I was getting pretty frustrated, but
So
yeah.
yeah, so playing in the desert on turntables, that especially back then, like I'd imagine that was tough, like just having things skip.
I remember these really huge industrial fans that were stationed either behind me or like kind of like on an angle,
Got
um,
it.
to blow stuff around. But it didn't matter. I mean, like, it was I mean, you have to do it anyways, but you have to always clean the tone arm to make sure that,
Yeah.
whatever the dust balls that gather, that you can get them off. Um, and wipe down your vinyl too. I mean, there's been some warehouses that I've played that it's been pretty, crazy with the dust as well.
Yeah, well, I'm been to a lot of, warehouse raves back in the day, and it might not have been dusty, but it was pretty grimy. And I mean, I was so used to record skips at that point, just because it was because of the dance floor and because things weren't weighted properly. And I don't know, there was kind of something endearing about it. I don't know. Maybe it's because I look back at it nostalgically.
Did you ever worry about being like getting somewhere with your stuff and that the setup wasn't going to be great? I mean, yeah, a crackling monitor, a fader missing a plastic knob on top, or maybe all the knobs missing. I was that
I
was
played
that
on so many mixers where they're like, yeah, the faders are broken off, like the nubs there. And you're like, okay, knobs are gone, but you make it work, I think, Depends on the club too. I wouldn't expect to show up at like a, you know, great club and have that happen and be kind of like, what's happening? But
I will tell
in a
you,
warehouse rave, whatever.
maybe like more recently, maybe from like 2015 on.
Yeah, fair.
But even still, leading up to 2015, there was some scenarios where I'd show up and just be like, "What is happening right now? Like, where am I, and how is this going on? And like, why would you guys go through all the effort of bringing me and these other 10 people out here to do this here on this? Like, why? Like, how, like what? Like, you just
Yeah,
couldn't go that extra?
I mean, that
Really?
actually, that's an interesting question. I guess, like, what would you say has been the craziest setup that someone's expected you to play on when you showed up?
What has been the? Oh,
Like, just like like a what moment where you're like, you want me to play on this?
I mean, Gabos in Regina, Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
I think I'm saying that right. Had I don't know what the board was. I don't know what it was. I think it I think it was for a TV studio. I think it was like a mixing board, but for like, so it was like I don't know. I'm not exaggerating in my hands. It was 100-pound board or something. This big console, with I mean, I just remember walking up to it and I was like, I don't even know what channels am I on? Like,
Right.
where's the cue? Like, because there's 12 knobs here, which one are the three knobs that I need to bend the EQ? Like, what's going on right now?
Did they have turntables on either side of it?
Yeah, but there's been, the
No,
turn,
that's like, it's just crazy. If you've ever seen someone DJ on turntables, I've showed up to a club before where they had the one turn, like it was actually CDJs, but one CDJ like up here, the other one down on the table, and then this huge mixer that the other one was just hovering over it. And it was like a PA, it wasn't a DJ mixer. And I was like, what do you want me to do with this? Plus, it was a really high booth and I'm really short. So I was like, up to here.
I definitely had some funky scenarios. Once I started using a computer and touring, showing up to booths that were specifically built for the mixer and the CDJ became a thing. Some venues were dope. They'd have sound people that would have boxes like a raised element that they could put over top of either some of the turntables or the mixer, so you could put your laptop right there.
Yeah.
But there's been some really strange scenarios where I've had to like put my laptop in a funky position just so it would be next to me. I just posted a tour collage. I don't know, three
I
four
actually,
weeks ago.
I saw that. That's a crazy collage.
Cool. So there's a jet. I played in San Francisco, I think, at Love Parade, and
Yeah.
um, I had to have my laptop underneath the table, but then I was
Oof.
using the mixer, so then I kept having to going literally. If you didn't know any better, you'd think I was pretty busy doing something else than
Something
trying
else.
to find the music that I was trying to find them on the laptop. I've gotten a little better as time goes on, because now obviously in utility room, when I'm performing, here, you guys typically will not see the laptop next to me.
Right.
You'll just see the controllers, right?
Yeah.
Um, anyways,
No, I think that's funny. I mean, yeah, like road stories I find so funny. I love talking to my friends about different experiences they've had while touring. So um it's great to hear, that you've had some crazy times. I know there's more stories than that, but as far as festivals go, like you played a lot of huge festivals. Like you played Burning Man several times, right? And Web, which is no longer, but was a sweet little festival, which I loved. Evolve, shout out East Coast there, but you played like all over. So I guess, do you have a favorite festival experience that you've had? Do you have a favorite festival to go to play for any particular reason?
I've definitely had some euphoric moments at Burning Man. Um,
Yeah.
one of which is actually on video. This is one of the biggest things that has been maybe I guess if I could complain or whine or say, gosh, it's not fair or any of that stuff, is that
Hmm.
I never had that extra budget to travel with uh, someone who could capture things on video,
Hmm.
photos, this type of thing. Um, and I also, which is I guess ironic because here I am, every week on TV essentially, on screen. I just wasn't like, hey, like look at me, like
Yeah.
here's me doing this and now here's me doing that. Like I was just like everything I have to say is it's with the music. You know,
Right.
I I don't know. I wasn't. Most of the visual stuff that happens is typically, in conjunction with somebody else, but it's by somebody else's hands. I have not done any of my graphics. Utility room, all of it, including what we're looking at above, even though that's like anyone could grab a hold of this font, still happened because of Josh Guidi, who's awesome sauce.
Yeah.
Uh, I can't remember what it was. The favorite tour thing. I was telling you about this video. So there's a video that's on YouTube right now of me at Burning Man, and I think this is in 2010.
Okay.
And it was so in my opinion, I'm just going to say this right now. The best parties that have happened that in my opinion at the Burn are typically when the gates first open. So from that Sunday to
Hmm.
the Thursday morning. And then from Thursday morning until the Sunday, it's something else. Can you still have good times? Yeah. But in my experience, any of the stuff that I've played at was Monday,
Hmm.
Tuesday, Wednesday. And
Okay.
so I was camping with Root Society, and they had two different domes. The big dome was not opened yet, so they had a smaller geodesic dome. I don't know, 350 people you could put inside of there. Okay, and they were like, "We're gonna open that up, and we're gonna throw a party in the geodesic dome tonight." And the camp leader, there's a few of them. One is Jeffer Tail. He put together a lineup for I believe this was Tuesday night. That's what I'm saying.
Right on.
So and I was on it. Okay, and I just got into the Burn as well. So I put my stuff down, kind of sauntered over, found Root Society. It's nighttime. I've got my music on me. I'm seeing everybody hugging, which is something that we were able to do with Reckless Abandon back in the day.
Yes.
Doing shots, having a really good time, winding up, and then
Hell yeah.
making my way over to the Geodesic Dome. And I'm trying to get to it, but as I get to it, it's overflowing already. And I believe at the time, Electric Soulside from
Yeah.
Paris, France was playing, and I was on after them. And I think this was midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. This is like witching hour stuff. And I remember it was super dark. So if you go and you watch this video, you can just see shadows, but you'll get it like in some instances where it kind of lights up in a weird way for a sec. You'll see the shadows. This is insane.
Yeah.
So the geodesic dome has got it's like this metal web that intertwines to make it erect, and people are literally hanging off of it, and on the sides, like on the rock. So I get inside of this somehow. I don't even remember how I was able to get from that back entrance into this DJ booth, which was made of wood. Now this thing is swaying, and ironically, I was with Mark, who I did Subterrane with, and
Cool.
I remember he leaned into me, and he grabbed me, and he looks at me and he goes, "This is not safe. We should not be up here." And I'm looking, I'm like, I'm going with this. And I just remember that I went on and I started playing, and I swear I could have, if like it's act is probably a really terrible to say. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what I was playing. It felt, at least it felt that way to me.
Right.
Like one of those sets where there could be no wrong turn. It didn't matter what was. It was just everyone was going. It felt the thing was breathing. And I remember halfway through that this whole stage was that, because when I went up, it was kind of just going left to right, but now it was doing this whole circle thing.
Wow.
So it was the whole thing is fucking moving. The whole thing is, and I'm like, I'm looking at this, I'm like, and I'm playing, and it's dark for me too, and I'm like, this thing is gonna fall down. This is gonna fall down. This whole thing is coming down, and this is how it goes. This is it. But it didn't. And I'm here, and that's the story. One of them.
I absolutely love that. No, it's wow, that's crazy. I think we've all been to some structurally shoddy events sometimes where you're like, I'm not sure if this is gonna hold.
What's yours?
Oh,
What's yours?
I played at a barn in Upper New Brunswick at a festival. It was like a very old barn, and they had the stage set up. Like only one person was allowed up there, and they had the stage set up, and like you could see through the boards. And I was just like, I'm probably gonna fall through this by the end of my set. I think I played like a 3-hour set to like close out the festival from like 6 to 9 in the morning. I played break beats. That was fun. Why not rock out some break beats? But it's just like an interesting thing. I think as a patron, the scariest scenario I was in was, when we used to go to raves, and it would be like, you get the flyer, you call the number on the flyer, and you find out, where you go get the bus to the party. Because that's what happened on the East Coast when I was growing up. It was like, you'd get an address, you'd show up, and the bus would take you 45 minutes to this warehouse rave outside of the city. But they were like old school buses, and I'm not sure who they had driving these buses, but I have met like one scenario that I was in. We got on the bus, we're all a little like, we're going to a rave, so we've had some drinks, we're having a good time. But this bus driver must have been going 140 on the highway in like an old school bus. I thought we were goners. We were passing cars on the highway, and I was like, this is it. This is how I'm gonna go in a school bus with a bunch of ravers on my way to Windsor, Nova Scotia. So yeah, it's there's been some fun times, but I'm glad that there's insurance and stuff involved in events now. It's a little bit more safer. I feel better about going.
It's funny. That is definitely really, really awesome insight. It's strange to think that we went to all of these events earlier on, and none of that was there. This is one of the things that I guess I was kind of talking to you about, is that I think that even if the venues, the legitimate venues, were an option, I don't know if they would have been available to the promoters then at that time. Now, of course, everyone's like, "Holy shit! Here's my moment."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why everything was underground. That's why you know what I mean? If that music was allowed in bars back then, I don't know if I mean, they would have still been around, but it's much more accessible to go to a local club and see that music than it is to organize, a warehouse party that, is not allowed to be found out by certain parties because it'll get shut down. So yeah, I mean, I think yeah, the music's more accessible now, I think, it's around more, people can access it more and not have to really go too far out of their comfort zone, but I encourage people to go out of their comfort zone a little bit anyway. I think you'll have a little fun with it.
Have you been jamming a lot?
I have been recently. I've been putting together some new mixes because I've been kind of lazy on it. I've just been feeling so. It's only been recently that I bought some new gear, and I'm feeling a little bit more creative because before I was just kind of, I don't know. I had a hard time feeling motivated, but I
Is
think I've seen a lot of people do some great things, and I think when people put out really good content, that's kind of what inspires me to do work on my own a little bit more.
is it that because we're not out? Is it harder to
Ah,
to
I just love
manifest the
playing.
energy to get it up and
Yeah,
bring it?
yeah, I think it is. I think it's a matter of just, like my favorite part of this whole gig is playing out for people. So, it's a adjustment, and I think everyone's kind of feeling that, but at the same time, I'm not going to give up on it. It's just, I just had to get myself into like, you can have fun doing this at home. You don't have to be in front of people. And I think I had to remind myself of that because it's been a minute since I've concentrated on that part of things.
This like what does the internet call this? A hot take. Some of the best music experiences I've ever had have been in my headphones when I've been on my own.
True.
Um,
True.
this is what I was trying to touch on is that when I'm plugged in, what I've got going on in my brain, eventually there's going to be something, Neuralink or something that will be able to be like connect us so that you can see what I've got going on, which looks like aerobics meets action movie. I feel like when we've got ourselves plugged in, our imagination is running so wild. We're seeing and doing stuff in our minds. We have this universe that's happening, and
True.
maybe on the flip of that, this is the reason why live is so exciting, especially if you are a part of something where the promoters have gone those extra feet, where they've taken the extra steps to take something to do with the decor, theme it, make it feel that you've gone into something that is not typical. You're now
Yeah.
immersed in a new world. It's materialized in front of you. It becomes tangible. It becomes tactile. And we're in a situation where we're with other people as well. Clearly, they're there, so there must be some, connection that we're having. This is. I'm giving some examples. This is not all of it.
No, yeah, and it's true because I kind of forgot how much fun I had playing for just myself in my headphones because a lot of the times when we were playing out and stuff, I was just kind of practicing for shows. It wasn't really, or not practicing, but kind of just like playing around with things, seeing what worked and what didn't. But it's a matter of now I think if I plug in, I found a lot of great music over the last year. I think that's the thing that I take away from it. I've been able to dig for music a lot more than what I was able to before. So busy,
Let me
you
ask you
know.
something. Let me
Yeah.
jump in real quick. The music that you're discovering, what is it from? Is it now? Or are you finding music from maybe 2, 3, 6 years ago? Or is it?
I've been doing a bit of a deep dive, just kind of going through artist catalogs that I haven't really visited in a long time. Because there'll be an artist that'll kind of, be like, oh, I really like that song. What else have they made? And just kind of fall into a rabbit hole and maybe go check out what labels they're on. But I've just had more time to do that, to really sit down and just kind of deep dive into what people are making. And I think, obviously music's more accessible than it ever has been at this point. Um, and there's a lot of content. So that's the other thing, right? You have to go through a lot to kind of find what you're looking for, essentially, I find. But I like that process. I think it's cool to discover what people are putting out. I don't know how you feel about it, but
I think that one of the things that I've been noticing is that prior to the shutdown, especially in 2019, I felt that a lot of stuff that was happening with house music was grabbing really classic riffs, samples, and vocals, and you know, making it now or then.
yeah.
And when the pandemic started, I felt that whatever was happening, whatever was the thermometer for festivals and clubs, it started going away. At least from, maybe it's just because of me and the algorithm that is associated with my social media, because that's a different conversation. But this is what I'm seeing. And so
Sure.
now it doesn't matter if your track is from 1997 or if it's from 2017. If it's great, then it's great. Because I felt that there was a thing that was happening, uh, maybe from 2010, right up in I guess to 2020,
Right.
where it had to only be new. DJs or producers both
Hmm.
were very particular on their social media about having whips or VIPs. Um, it was very. So here's the thing to me. I'll say this. I'm going to jump in right now. I've got this. I've got
Yeah.
an opinion. An opinion is that when I first started going to parties, promoters would have the difference between a live performer and a
Hmm.
DJ. They were separated on the bill. In fact, I think even Ultra still does this, where they've got a line on the flyer that is just for live acts, and then they've got the headliners. I might be wrong, or it might be the other way around. Whatever it is, I believe it's stationed there.
Yeah.
But I'm not quite sure I'm understanding what's happening, because what happened, it seems, is that people who are absolutely fantastic at making music were given the big prime slots to perform, but had zero experience performing,
Yeah.
um, or using the gear. And it also felt weird to me is that if you were up there to only play your own music and you're not a DJ, then why are you DJing? Like, it would be really weird to see, like, I'm only Nickelback tracks. Like, they're the best. I gotta see them live. And
You're really
like
talking about Nickelback right now? All right.
I'm using this as an example. Like my example, the
Okay.
five guys walk out on stage. They all join hands together, and one of them touches a mixing board and presses a button, and the music starts. None of them are playing instruments. What is happening? Not
Right.
they're not DJs, but all of a sudden they were thrown into a scenario where they were told to DJ, and I thought to myself, I was like, I don't get it. Especially if you're so dope at making music, like, why not perform it? Like,
Well,
I'd rather see somebody step up and literally press a space bar and dance around to a track that they've made than to try and DJ, because I was like, I don't understand what's going on. You'd never see this in rock and roll. You wouldn't even see it in hip hop. Can you imagine this in hip hop? That someone would just like,
it wouldn't happen.
right? It wouldn't happen. Like, there might be a studio hip hop person that's out there and they're just strictly about that. And maybe that's because they know that
Yeah.
they can't do the other thing. Now, with that being said, there are obviously tons of people out there that can make music and clearly DJ at the same time. In fact, some people started DJing and then ended up making music, and they became better at making music than they are at DJ, but they can still do both. There's so many
Yeah.
different situations. I'm specifically
But
calling out the individuals who are not DJs but are going up there and they're DJing. I
okay,
don't
so hear me
I
out
don't
on
get
this.
it. Like,
So
why?
my
Why do
thought
the thing
about
you could
this, and
do?
and the reason I thought people did this was because when you book somebody as a live artist, it's more expensive than having them do a DJ set.
I get it.
So if you book them
I
for a
get it.
live set, so is it a
Yes.
promoter choice, or is it they just don't want to pay for the live set, or is it the artists themselves are just offering a DJ set? I don't know.
I mean, listen, again, if then I'm just saying.
I don't know.
I'm just
No, I
saying.
agree with you. And you know, I've seen
Okay.
some of my favorite producers disappoint me DJ wise. Like the set was not the mixes weren't my favorite. I love the songs. You know, it is what it is, but you know, we all make mistakes. I get it. It's not a big deal. But it's funny you mentioned Ultra because I was there. I think you may have actually played the Ultra I was at, possibly. Did you play one? Was it you
Three.
played
I
it in
played
like was it
three. I played three of them.
20? I
Three of
went
them.
in 2009 maybe
I think I played that.
2007
No.
2009. Yeah, I think you were there. 2009.
I think
Anyway,
I
yeah,
did 2009, 10,
that was a
11. I think.
wild party. 200,000 people.
Yeah, it was
I
pretty
didn't know what I
crazy.
was getting into.
Yeah. Yeah, really, really crazy.
Funnily enough, that ultra that I was at was with Sidney Enwood and I think you know him from Underdog Productions. Yeah, rest in peace, Sid. But yeah, I went with him to that ultra. So yeah, full circle. But yeah,
What
it
a
was
dope dude.
amazing, dude, and what a time we
Amazing.
had for sure. Miss
Yep.
that guy a lot.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, no, ultra. That's wild that you got to play those stages. That must have been fun.
Absolutely. There's been so many adventures that I've been super fortunate to have been on. You know, I brought up the tape deck thing earlier when we
Yeah.
started talking because I have an older sister. You know, her and her friends used to ask me for these mixtapes for their parties. And then when I got my 1200s at home, every day I made a mix. Every day. You know, and I started using the B sides and the cuts that I didn't like on the vinyl that I was buying because I got absolutely, you know, like bored being like I can't like mix this track again, like that done with this track. You know, it was every day, and these mixes, you know, I don't know if they're out there right now. It's possible that someone out there has some very terrible, you know, early mixes for me that because I was handing them out to everyone. Someone's making the joke right now. They're like, what are you talking about? That was just last week.
Stop.
um, I just wanted to be like, look, I have all this music that I think is dope.
Yeah.
Let's listen, and I think I put it together in a cool way. Let's listen to this. You know, because when I went out to the sanctuary, uh, and I saw the DJs playing that night,
Mm-hmm.
that was my first experience with the mixer. I had somebody in high school that left a CD at my house. His name is Oren. He left Dr. Trance's Dance into the Light at my house. And it sat on top of my CD player for a minute because I was just like, because he played it for a second, I was like, turn that off. I'm like, what is this? But then, you know, but then I played it and I listened to it, and the thing that I mean, I love the music, but the thing that I was like, I was scratching my head around. I was like, what's happening right now? Why isn't the music ending? And
Yeah.
so when I went out
True.
and then I saw the mixing board, I mean, I stood next to it and I was like, this is it. This
Yeah.
is it. You know, like and then I guess that was my bite. It's ironic that I love the music, but it was the mixing board that was my bite. So I
That's
know, and
cool.
then so I practiced every day, you know, and there was people that I started really looking up to. The first, you know, because this is what it is. We find music and other presenters, either DJs or music acts that we're fond of, and then
Mm-hmm.
we try to do some emulation. And then, you know, obviously, you know, there's people who will just go for straight emulation. Then you maybe your own road or whichever route that you decide to take.
Right.
And so I started with Sasha.
Oh, Sasha.
And
Sasha Digweed.
I
Yes.
I still listen today. I can't mix that music on my own though, because you put a song on and then you walk away for 10 minutes or something, right? I mean, I'm not.
Yeah. It's
I
really good
I
driving music.
abs absolutely couldn't agree with you
It's
more.
like
It's
my favorite shit to
fantastic.
drive in the car too, but yeah,
Well,
no.
for sure, for sure. Or one of, yeah. It's there. And really good when you just want to be like chill. Also good.
Mhm.
Also good for some sexy times.
Yeah,
You
that's a
know,
sexy
um,
time.
you, you know, uh, for me, I talked about this recently. Again, Dr. Trance, he gave me Bad Boy Bill's Bang in the Box Volume 1. And when I heard Bill cutting, scratching, and mixing fast as he was, and the shit was
Yeah,
ferocious, it was really ferocious. Um, uh, this for sure changed everything for me, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to cut, I wanted to scratch, and I wanted to mix fast, fast,
yeah,
fast, fast. And so this was something that it used to be important, which is why I brought up like the DJ thing. So
yeah.
this was like you couldn't get booked if you were train wrecking, which if there's someone that's been only with us with electronic music for the last even half decade, you know
Hmm.
train wrecking means that if you were using no sync, so you're trying to beat match, literally beat match, just
By
using your
ear,
by ear,
without
right?
visual aids.
That's right. And so, well, no, I mean honestly, like again, like it's it's not the end all. It's not the end all
No,
be
no.
all. But before stuff was digital, so this is some
Hmm.
people are still hung up on where this was. Um,
Yeah,
but if it wasn't digital, then having a specific skill set that was associated with turntablism was essential if you wanted to get booked at
for
parties,
sure.
festivals, clubs, raves, whatever. If you couldn't get up there and
Hmm.
at least get it together, after a few goes, that word of mouth would travel, and then that. You had to have been like super, super, superstar. I'm not going to
Yeah,
name any names, to be out there touring and be unable to mix. So,
yeah.
but this is, I'm generalizing, obviously. So everything before sync happened was about this.
Hmm.
And I got confused because the more that I got into it, the more I was like, they'd be like, the number one DJ is this person. And I'd be
Right.
like, no, it's not. It's either DJ Craze or Mixmaster Mike.
I agree
You know,
with that.
you, you know,
Absolutely.
and or what about Qbert? Like, and be like, well, those guys, they're different types of DJs. They can't rock a party. And then I went and I saw Mixmaster Mike live, and I went, okay, well that's bullshit because fucking like he got up there and was like, it was, and yes, it is for sure, it is different, but I mean, the very idea that like if you're gonna brag about your beat matching on turntables, like you better pull off some Sasha shit. You better
Yeah.
be in that mix for
I want to hear you
minutes
groove
at a
ride that mix
time.
for like 4 minutes, and
That's right,
you're
and
gonna
and
brag
it's
about your beat
locked.
matching.
It's locked, and when you're chasing it with the beat with the fader. Not You're not chasing it on the actual sticker. You are
Hmm.
you're chasing it proper. Like otherwise, stop. Right, and this was a thing, and there's a lot more. Say like laid back Luke, TJR, DOD. Like there's a lot of people out there who are like whoa awesome producers and also like holy fuck DJs at the same time. You
Yeah,
know, uh,
agreed. Yeah,
so there's I'm not saying that there's one way or the other. I'm specifically speaking about the people who aren't DJs and then they get up to go and DJ, and I'm just like, why? Why?
well, because you
And
make money touring. That's what it is.
be your music's that great. You get up there and you put out your music. What makes you? Okay, that's yeah. No, I'm not the best producer in the world either. Like, and I've definitely put out tracks, but I think that's a totally different form. Okay, see the situation. The difference between that is that
Agreed.
I could put out music and no one's gonna press play on it. Right? I'm going out to a show and there's 500 people, 5,000, 50,000 people at the show, and someone gets up and they're not capable. I mean, come on. So there's a
Yeah.
there's a difference between being able to do those art forms, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree. And like
I just ranted a lot for you. I'm sorry.
I loved it. I mean, I kind of want to. I mean, you did since you talked about putting out tracks and stuff. I mean, you've had a couple like huge breakthrough tracks that have like hit big. So I guess like for me, I want to know what the most breakthrough moment that you feel was in your career. Like when was that moment that you're like, holy shit, this is something I'm going to be doing?
I mean, there's been a few times where I feel like someone's come to me and been like, "Whoa, this is it."
Yeah,
So I don't. There's been. I mean, clearly, Dead Mouse, Jello, The Reward is Cheese, super
big
massive.
tune.
I had a couple of really big ones with Hatiris as well,
Mhm.
Donkey Punch and Speaker Humper. Um,
Both good tracks. Yeah, fucking love them. Shout out
back
George.
back in 2005, I got hit up by Nelly Furtado's management to do the remixes for Promiscuous and Maneater, which only
Wow,
got a, these are done. They only got a UK, no, they got a full European release and some other places as well. And it was
sick.
limited. And then I remember being in the office in Toronto with the rep that was on the phone that was talking to the offices. And they had their remixer guy already doing it. So they didn't want the two remixes to compete. So my remix
Shit.
was off on its own, doing its thing. It became, I think, the fourth most downloaded ringtone, not the original, the Jello remix
Fuck yeah.
at the time, and was like a big like club smash. But this was like really early internet days, so like this is like year one MySpace or something. So it wasn't like people really knew about it. So I had to like this was back when you had to like go and be
Mhm.
like people be like, so what's new? And you'd be like, well, I just remixed Nelly Furtado, you know, like
Word of mouth entirely. Just like, yeah, absolutely. Man, that's wild. You should. Are you? I don't know if you're even able to be. Do you have those tracks to like put up on the internet? Would you do that? Is that something you'd put up?
I don't know if I'm allowed. I actually played Man Eater on Utility Room last June
I
or maybe
I know that
May.
track because we talked about it. Because I think I messaged you afterwards, and you're like, "That man
Right,
eater track is mine."
right,
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
right.
No,
The
man, that's
drums
so
on it
wild.
are really cool. I mean, back then, you know, 2005, the drums on it were really cool. I did that remix with Ryan Conrad and John Lamagna back, I believe. I can't remember the name of the studio. Gosh, I can't remember the name of the studio now, but we were able to go on the rooftop and just we were able to smoke our brains out on the rooftop of the studio and then run back down into the studio and work.
Fuck
That's what I
yeah.
remember. And it was summertime and
Awesome.
it was awesome. Yeah.
Wicked. That's incredible. I mean, yeah. I and there's been so many studios that you probably worked out of in Toronto, eh? That do they even exist anymore?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So
Cool.
this is gonna sound mostly discouraging maybe, but at the same time it's not. Like there's two sides to it. So for the most part,
Yeah.
really big studios aren't going to take electronic music super serious. So they're not going to build rooms specifically for electronic music
Right.
artists. Not the same as they might for like a vocal booth, you know,
Mhm.
or a session room for a band. So and on the flip of it, why would you? I mean, even if you were to bring in like a super
Yeah.
dynamite person, I remember reading a story about Zed that he went to a studio and he brought it. They had this like crazy, you know, super board, everything racks, all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff, and he's puts his laptop, you know, with the jacks in, headphone jack, and starts jamming that way. It didn't use anything in the studio except for the monitors
Kilometers.
for the sound.
Yeah.
That's right. That's because the evolution of what we've done has, well, I mean, I've got GarageBand on my phone. I'm not going to say it's going to be the best track ever. I'm also not going to tell you that it might not rock you.
Yeah.
Like, I've got a couple of tracks that are on some of my very early, couple of different remixes that I think came out on Bug Eyed, were done in GarageBand.
Yeah.
You know, not for my phone, not for my phone, not for my phone, but yeah, no, I mean, I think we'd all be surprised at some of the stuff. I used to scratch my chin over people saying that they used FL. I maybe just like couldn't get my head around it, and then I met Savant, and that's all he uses exclusively. If you're familiar with his music, then like, woo, you know,
Yes.
same as Fowler. Fowler, you know, out in the East Coast, you know, he he's also FL champion. You know, both those guys are wizard in those DAWs, and you know, there's some people who are going to be able to take stuff and make magic out of it, including those very terrible setups that we had to play on when we went to these venues. You know, like we're complaining about them right now, but I mean, did you play your set?
Yeah.
Me
And
too.
if someone hired me to play on that gear right now, I would be there in a heartbeat. And
Yeah,
it's
well, yeah.
safe.
Are you kidding me?
Like, I don't care what gear you have. I'll come and play on my iPhone. I'm there. I'm there.
Right? Yeah, I'm stoked to get my arm poked.
Oh, me too. Bring it on. Um,
Yeah, bring it on. That's how I feel the same way. You know, in regards to the music though,
yeah.
like there's been some really cool moments. You know, I'm trying to think like it kept going on. I did some stuff with Fowler.
Yeah, you guys just
I did
released
I
a
did
bunch
some
of
stuff.
stuff, eh? You released EPs recently.
Yeah, we did. Well, just like on New Year's, pretty much.
Was it New Year's?
On New
Okay.
Year's, we put out Road Trip, um, which is like 5 tracks, um, predominantly 4/4,
Hmm.
and maybe a sequel to Something Is Not Quite Right, which is what I was about to talk about. You know, the first time I sat down with Fowler, the intention was to make like raging rave music, um, and we did. We did sci-fi western.
Really?
It's yeah, I mean, there's one drum and bass track that's on this EP, but
Amazing.
this is a different EP. Yeah, it's called Something's Not Quite Right. It's a soundtrack to a movie that doesn't exist, which is
Cool.
a sci-fi western. Yeah, and like we have like artwork for it that was like hand drawn and painted and brushed, and like we really went like
Yeah.
all the way. We even submitted it for factor grants and stuff so that we can try
Nice.
and make a mini film
Hmm.
because it's 25 minutes long. So the idea was to try and put together 5 videos that connected with each other
Nice.
and made this one story. And we didn't get the factor grant, and
Factor,
and
you messed up.
and because it was so absolutely different than anything I'd ever done. And at that
Hmm.
point, I think maybe JELO might have been maybe a more recognizable name than Fowler. Definitely, that's not the case now. Um, no one pressed play on it. Like it was. We spent a year making this EP because
Right.
it's music. It's not. Not saying dance music isn't music. I'm saying like this is like they're they're
Cinematic
they're
almost.
pieces.
Yeah.
Like yeah, they definitely
Yeah.
it's definitely a soundtrack. It's the type of thing that you listen to. I can't say you really you listen to it.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you would do with it. Um, yeah, just no one was interested in this. Um, it was something that I toyed with a little bit before that.
Hmm.
In between 2012 and 2015,
Yep.
I put out some music that I wasn't crazy about. And I did it because it were different ideas that were being given to
Hmm.
me, and it's not like I've got a regret, like where I'm like, oh, I regret that I did that. That's the worst thing. I wish I wouldn't have done that. You know, regret's a weird word
Yeah,
because I wouldn't know that I didn't enjoy this experience had I not gone forward with it. I'm not saying that that's the sole leader, the rod that we need to follow, but I will say that it's a challenge to go ahead and have an opinion about something and feel a certain way and not care what comes back to you and maintain that feeling unless you've actually walked in those steps.
for sure.
And that's exactly what I did. I heard some feedback and stuff. I followed some supposed wisdom, and in hindsight, I hear those tracks now and I'm like, like, oh no.
Uh,
I never reach for him. I never play him. I don't ever promote them or talk about them with anybody.
right.
And maybe, unless you do a deep dive, you're not going to get them, like I'm still talking about something's not quite right because I would like people to listen to it. I mean, even if you dislike it, like, well, don't message me and tell me to
Well,
dislike
I'm
it.
gonna listen to it right after we're done. But is it
Okay,
like
it's good evening
can
music.
folks get it online right now?
Yeah, no, it's everywhere. It's
I can pick it up wherever, Beatport
wherever.
and all that good stuff. iTunes.
Yes. Oh,
Cool.
I don't know if it's on Beatport. Actually, I think it is. I don't. I mean, if it is, I can't imagine who would. I don't. Maybe people go to Beatport just to buy tracks to listen to. I don't know. I always think it's
I
like
don't actually I don't buy anything from
DJs.
Beatport anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
You
Why?
froze again.
Do you
Oh,
know
you're
why?
unfrozen.
I ordered so I bought a bunch of stuff right before a gig. And you shouldn't do that, but I was in a rush one day and I was like, I'm buying this folder of tracks, I'm gonna bring it to the bar and I'm gonna play it. So I bought them and they wouldn't download. So I had all this folder of tracks. So I ended up being like, okay, I'll just pay for it again. I paid for the like $100 3 times, and I still couldn't get the track. So I was out $300 without my
Wait, you
tracks
got
that I
a you
wanted to
got
play.
you got a refund or something, right? Like you
I had
messaged Beatport and
I
explained.
did, but they were like, it was a weekend, so I ended up. They were like, "Well, look into it," and I just reported it to my bank. But anything from them since because, like, come on, guys,
That's probably
screw you,
something to do with
Beatport.
your browser, not them. That's. I mean, I just shopped at them last week. I didn't have that. I didn't have that experience. It might be a browser thing.
I think it was a browser thing, but I'm gonna blame it on them for now
Yeah.
because I don't want to take responsibility for it.
You were just so anxious. Who hits the buy now button at $100 a shot on Beatport? You really wanted that
I
music.
really wanted
You're like,
that music. I think I was actually playing I think it was like a garage set that I was supposed to be playing. So I had all these songs and I was like collecting, and then it was like over a few months and I had this folder. I was like, this is gonna be perfect for this set. And then I was like, oh my god, now I have to find all this music for that like in 3 hours that I couldn't get. So I went to Juno and I bought new music, but still. It was I was frantic and I was very upset about it. I think I probably left them some mean emails, so I apologize to whoever got that.
no.
You guys are ruining my career. No, not really.
Hey, did I hijack your stuff in a terrible way? This was supposed to be a back-to-back episode, so I'm not feeling totally terrible.
Sorry, you cut out there.
Did I hide? Did I?
Hmm.
Am I back now?
You're back.
Okay. I was asking if I hijacked your stuff here tonight. If you felt like I hijacked it.
No, I love it. Yeah, I had like my cute little questions and you answered them. So, and my notes here just in case I forgot what I wanted to ask.
Did we get all of it?
Yeah, I think we got most of it. I think the only other question that and maybe this is a good way to close it if you let me know. But I mean, we talked about kind of all the things leading up to now, like this past year, but also career prior to that. But like, where do you see us? Like, where do you see this scene? Where do you see any of us in like the next year? Do you think this is where we're at for the next year, or where do you see our scene ending up? Do you see more venue closures? I'm just curious to get your hot take on it.
The first thing I'd like to do is to solve why you keep freezing. The good
No.
news is that no, you're not frozen now.
Oh,
You're not
okay.
frozen now. But you've frozen a few times. The good news is that with each freeze, you've looked lovely.
Okay.
So
One eye's
yeah.
not shut, the other one's wide open. No, that's not happened yet. Such a good look. So
It's a
beautiful.
good look. The best look ever. We call that 3:30.
Yes, it's only 10:30. We're still good.
You know, a lot lately. I've been thinking that the more that things change, the more they stay the same. Back in 1996 and 97, one of the themes that was really prominent on the dance floor was we've got to save our scene.
Yeah.
It's selling out, man. It's selling out. We got to save our scene. And, that conversation is still happening today. And I think that is fantastic. There's
So
enough
true.
people. There's enough people that care about what we're doing that they still want to save it. That it's still worth fighting for. That the idea of it is that powerful. That they're there for it. They're going to turn up for it. And so I think to myself, we're looking at a roaring time, summer 2022. Okay, it's going to take a
Yeah.
long time for everything to roll out, and it's super complicated. It's a lot more complicated than everyone would like to think. People would like it's so easy, just set up a bunch of stations and just get it all done. And I don't know about the inner workings of how or what the government has done.
Right.
Um, And I think that we also are living in a swipe society where everything is really quickly available to us,
Yeah.
except the answer to this fucking pandemic. And so we're
So
frustrated.
true.
We're frustrated by this because here we are in the middle of it, and we're trying to swipe this thing away, and we can't. And so
Mm-hmm.
and then we've got the people who are in charge of going, we're gonna fix this. Just give it a sec. And that sec has obviously passed for everybody, and so
Right.
everyone has got these feelings that are happening right now. When we do get together again, what I think is going to happen is that it's going to be amazing.
I think it's gonna
I'm
be magic.
I wanna hug you. I wanna high five you. I wanna play music with you. I wanna
Hell
rave with
yes.
you. I wanna go out. I wanna see people. I wanna see them raving. I wanna see other people
Yeah.
playing music. I wanna do this stuff. I wanna go eat bad food at a really greasy spoon and not think twice about it.
Yeah.
I want to do these things as much as anybody else, and I think that looking forward to that moment, knowing that it's going to be, is obviously a strong inspiration for me. I don't want to think about the
Yeah.
rest of it. The rest of it is very obvious and it's easy. Bad news is easy to digest. It's easy to
True.
believe bad stuff. It's easy to go ahead and take it all in and say it sucks. Fucking conspiracy theorists that are out there that are
Oh
posting
God.
everything on Facebook that makes it sound like there's some cockamamie shenanigans happening, behind the scenes. What my
Yeah.
favorite thing to say to a conspiracy theorist is?
I need more things in my arsenal, so let me hear it.
I always like to get the entirety of it and then go, oh yeah, and then what? It's endless. Any conspiracy thing never has an end to the story. Like, what's the end? How does it end? Like, what's the goal?
What's the
Even a
goal?
Marvel villain, or a DC Comics villain has a goal. Thanos had to snap. That was it. Okay, he had a mission. He did it. Okay, that's the
That's
goal.
that.
So if there's all these super villains that are out there with these crazy conspiracies that are going on, what is the mission? What's the goal? Right?
Man.
No conspiracy theorist has got that answer.
Well, I think in summer 2022, hopefully, like we won't see as much of them because we'll just all be doing our own thing.
Oh, I think the colorful conversations of Strange has perhaps only just begun.
Oh yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
yeah, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But at the same time, I think that the good opinions still outweigh the bad, at least in my world. And like until that there's a tipping point there, then I think I can maintain until some sense of normalcy comes back. But yeah, it's an interesting time for sure.
one of the things that maybe and certainly at times I've felt frustrated by is that I've put so much energy and focus into the music and the artist side of things that I was never really a part of the administrative stuff.
Mhm.
And I don't know what labels are doing right now. And I don't know what venues are doing right now. I don't know where they're at. I can only imagine challenges.
Yeah,
So I'm not sure what's going to be, and I don't want to sound absolutely terribly dark about stuff, but some of my favorite venues no longer are around, and that was pre-pandemic. New things can start. It's
hmm,
possible. For example, that's not to say, oh my God, said something terrible. Let's say, for example, if I was somebody that was running a venue, I might consider closing it down for right
closing.
now, just for right now, and then when stuff starts up again, coming back and kicking back in, right? Because there's no like for me, in my mind, I wouldn't want to hold on to something right now, not knowing that for another 12 months, for example, holding the keys on
Yeah,
something that's not going to be able to be opened, right? And it's obviously super easy for me to say this. I'm not the
yeah,
guy.
of
I'm not
course.
the guy that's holding the keys, so I can say
I
whatever
mean,
I.
I'm so grateful for the owners of bars have been able to sustain this long, but I
I
can't
don't know how they're
imagine what
doing it.
they're
Yeah,
dealing with, to be
it's
honest.
got it's got it's got it's got to be absolutely complicated and filled with challenges.
Oh, man,
It
yeah.
my
But
my
the amount of
my
closures too is just wild.
Listen,
Like it's
I've been
just
I've
sad to
been
see this
shot
many
dead in the
like
water too. I don't,
you know.
sorry, we're both talking at the same time.
Well, I think it sounds good though. It's got like bouncing sound off one another. It's fine.
I'm just saying that like it's not like I'm in like the super comfiest of places. I mean like I'm grounded like all other music people.
Hmm.
Like it's not, I'm not. It's everything is hard.
Yeah,
Everything's hard. I'm really lucky that I have what I have, and that I was able to put stuff together here at home to make utility room. With wacky tea lights, and
yeah.
I eventually got this table, the table that you played
I
on.
remember it
Like that
well.
took time. Like I didn't have, like, who knew catering tables, right? But that's what utility room is on. Utility room's on a catering table. You know,
True.
uh, I had to. It collapses. I can take it wherever I go. So when things do open back up, and I'm able to start go ahead and doing music with you, me, and other people outside in various places all over Toronto, anywhere really, you know, I can. You know,
Yeah,
I there's got to be something. It can't be nothing. There's got to be something. Got to do something. And a lot of early rave stuff is really just that. It wasn't
yeah.
magnificent. It's not what it was. Now. Now we see raves. They're magnificent. Anyways.
Well, I think it'll be where we get back there, and I think it will be a resurgence of that underground feel for parties. I think
Oh,
that's with smaller rooms because that's what we're going to be allowed to work with, and I think that's the reality is we're going to go back to 50% intimate parties at first for a long time. I think before we see festivals.
you think so?
I do. I mean, I don't know.
What happens if we're all vaccinated? And would you party in a room full of
I
people if
mean,
you had to keep your mask on?
I mean, if it was safe
Okay.
to do so and I had to wear a mask,
Okay.
yes, of course, yeah.
Okay.
Um, but who knows what it's going to look like? But I think that just the way that the closures went in the first place, I think we see us being able to have 50 people in a venue before we see 5,000 outside. I just think that's how it's going to be. But I mean, I could be wrong.
I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that if we're all vaccinated, and then the rule is that that we have to wear masks, let's go. Like,
absolutely.
Let's go.
Like, sign me.
Yeah, let's go. That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. People get really creative with the masks too, I bet, right?
Hell yeah. No, honestly,
right.
I mean, at this point, I mean, we'll see what happens, but I'm happy that we've got a way to at least connect. I don't know what I would do if, we didn't have this type of technology where we could all actually see and talk to one another. Imagine if this happened 15 years ago. It would be a lot different of a scene. Maybe 20 years ago.
This happened 100 years ago.
It did happen 100 years ago.
It happened 100 years ago.
But like, think about like pre-internet, because I think all of us, like, we're not as like, I think the people that lived 100 years ago were like hard, and they knew what they were doing about things like we seem to be in the 21st century, I think. So like, I don't know.
That's who knows.
I don't know if we would handle it. Like, I would not. I don't know if it was 100 years ago. I don't think I would. If it was even 20 years ago without internet, I wouldn't be down.
I was just thinking, can you imagine being like mad at somebody and then writing them a letter?
Exactly.
And then like 2 months later, like you get the reply and they're like totally mean to you and you're like, ooh.
You just wait 2 months to get my reply. I've got you.
You get to that mailbox, you're like,
man. Well, I'm grateful for the technology we have. I can at least keep us all together a little bit.
Grateful that we can get into a really quick, and that 15 seconds later you can tell me to go fuck myself on a thread.
Exactly. That's what friends. That's what friendship is.
Oh. Well, this was lovely.
This was amazing. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I appreciate it.
Thanks for hanging out with me and getting into some of the stuff you asked. I really do want to figure out how we're going to go and do this. Together. So, obviously, it's not up to you and I, and if, we didn't care about other people or rules, we probably would have gotten together, but we clearly do. So.
Yeah. And you know what? It'll just make it that much better when things are okay to do so. Let's rock it out.
Get it where your B port's figured out. You're not spending $300 to get your stuff together.
Well, I mean, I'll probably just buy it from a different website, but yeah. No, I love you, B port. I'm sorry, they're not listening, but whatever.
They're really diversifying now with the genres. I mean, like lately, I can't remember what the genre sections are now, but it feels like they've got two dozen genre sections now on Beatport that you can choose from.
Yeah, I actually, you know what? I think that they've made some big changes, and before that was a big part of why I didn't really like sifting through the music on the site, because it was like I'd go into house and I'm like, this isn't house music, or I'd go into drum and bass and I'm like, this is not drum and bass. So it's nice that they've sorted out their subgenres.
Right. So hey, listen. But before we say goodbye to one another, is there anything that you want to shout out right now before we get going?
Yeah. So good looking out. Tomorrow night, myself and the night shift crew, so Mr. Mustache and Milu and myself, Jungle, playing drum and bass breaks and dub sets. So tune in on their Twitch. I'll throw it up on my Instagram. So head on over to Jules Bangsworth if you guys want to check it out.
Awesome sauce.
Thanks for letting me shout that out.
It's been excellent having you with us tonight.
Thank you. It's been great, sir. I had a blast.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. I hope I didn't say anything wrong.
You're fine. You're thinking it.
Am I?
Yeah. I fucking love you, buddy.
Woo! Jules Bangsworth, this is Utility Room. My name is JELO. You are absolutely awesome sauce. Thank you very much for tuning in.